Ireland goes to the polls on Friday for a referendum on repealing the 8th Amendment of the Irish Constitution, which restricts access to abortion. Ahead of the vote, we've put together a list of key questions on the issue and details on how to vote, what to bring to the polling station, and more information about the event. Read on to have your questions answered. What is the 8th Amendment? It is a clause in the Constitution which was written after a previous referendum on the issue in 1983 recognized the right to life of the unborn child. It protects the equal right to life of the mother and the unborn and effectively prohibits abortion in most cases. Among its supporters are the Catholic Church, which remains a strong presence in Ireland, though diminished from its heyday. Young people are amongst the most enthusiastic proponents of repeal. What effect has it had? In 1992, women were officially given the right to travel abroad, mostly to the UK, to obtain terminations. Pro-repeal campaigners said almost 170,000 have done so. Tanaist Simon Coveney has argued that has effectively left Britain deciding the law for Irish women around the procedure, and it was time to take back control in Ireland. What about the women who stay in Ireland? Campaign posters in Dublin City, Image, Aidan Crawley, EPAFA, Rex, Shuttershock. The campaign to liberalise abortion gathered momentum after an Indian dentist, Savita Halappanavar, died in hospital in Galway aged 31 when she was refused an abortion during a miscarriage. Her husband, Praveen Halappanavar, said she repeatedly asked for a termination but was refused because there was a fetal heartbeat. Health Service reviewers later identified failings in her care. Did anything change? In 2013, legislation was amended to allow terminations under certain tightly restricted circumstances, the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Act. When doctors felt a woman's life was at risk due to complications from the pregnancy, or from suicide, they were permitted to carry out an abortion. It followed a 1992 Supreme Court ruling that terminations were permitted where the mother's life was at risk. That regime has prompted uncertainty, proponents of repeal said, with the medical profession facing possible prosecution and up to 14 years imprisonment if they wrongfully carry out an abortion. Was that concession enough for those seeking liberalization? Posters call for yes and no votes over the proposed repeal of the 8th Amendment of the Irish Constitution, which is to be decided on in a referendum on May 25. Image, Niall Carson, PA Wire. Not according to the women who are still travelling to the UK in their droves for procedures. Among them were Amanda Millett and her husband James, who took their case to the UN's Human Rights Committee. The committee called for reform to give women greater rights and said the ban on abortion caused cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment. In 2016, for the first time in its history, the Irish state compensated a woman, Mrs. Mellett, for the trauma caused by forcing her to travel to Britain for an abortion. What approach did the government adopt? It established a public advisory body, a citizens' assembly, which recommended introduction of unrestricted access to abortion. Because of the 8th Amendment, a public poll was needed before new laws could be passed, and earlier this year the country's housing minister, Owen Murphy, set the date for the abortion referendum as Friday, May 25. The government has published draft legislation to be introduced if the amendment is repealed, which would allow relatively free abortions, subject to consultation with a medical professional, and after a short waiting period, up to 12 weeks after gestation and up to 24 weeks with restrictions. If after 12 weeks, a woman's life is threatened or there could be serious harm to her health, two doctors will consider whether to allow the procedure. Terminations will not be carried out after the fetus becomes viable, following 24 weeks of pregnancy. You must be an Irish citizen. You must be at least 18 years old. Your name must be on the register of electors. You must also have been ordinarily resident in the state on the 1st of September in the year before the register comes into force. If you are an Irish citizen living abroad, you cannot be entered on the register of electors. This means that you cannot vote in an election or referendum here in Ireland. The only exception to this is Irish diplomats and their spouses, who are on duty abroad and may cast their vote by post. In terms of which citizens have which rights, Irish citizens may vote at every election and referendum, British citizens may vote at Dáil elections, European elections and local elections, other European Union (EU) citizens may vote at European and local elections, non-EU citizens may vote at local elections only. You will normally be required to vote in person at an official voting centre. However, you may be eligible for a postal vote if you are a full-time member of the Defence Force, a member of the Garda Síochána, an Irish diplomat or his/her spouse posted abroad. You may also be eligible for a postal vote if you cannot go to a polling station because you have a physical illness or disability. You are studying full-time at an educational institution in Ireland, which is away from your home address where you are registered. You are unable to vote at your polling station because of your occupation. You are unable to vote at your polling station because you are in prison as a result of an order of a court. Applications to be included on the list of postal voters had to be handed in by November 25, 2017. If you are registered as a postal voter, you may vote by post only. You may not vote at a polling station. It is also possible to vote in a hospital, nursing home or similar institution if you are residing in one of these institutions. When are polling stations open? Polling stations will open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on May 25th. If you are in the station before 10 p.m. you should be allowed to vote, but try not to leave it until the last minute. What happens at the polling station? Where you are voting in person at a polling station, it is possible that you may be asked to swear on oath or make an affirmation to confirm your identity, and/or confirm that you have not already voted in the referendum, and/or confirm that you are in fact the required age to vote. The official in charge of the polling station is entitled by law to ask you to do this. What do I need to take with me? Before polling day, you should receive a polling card in the post telling you at which polling station you should cast your vote. If you don't receive a polling card, you are still entitled to vote so long as you are on the electoral register. You can check this at checktheregister.ie. You don't need to have your polling card with you when you go to vote. However, you should bring some valid form of personal identification such as a passport, a driving license, a public services card, an employee identity card with a photograph, a student identity card with a photograph, a travel document with your name and photograph, or a bank, savings or credit union book containing your address in the constituency. It is also acceptable to show a checkbook, a check card, a credit card, a birth certificate or a marriage certificate, as long as you also have another document which confirms your address in the constituency. You might not be asked for proof of identity, but if asked for it you need to show it. How do I vote? Staff will take your name and strike you off the register as you are about to vote. They will hand you a ballot paper and there will be a separate area at which to mark it with pens or pencils provided. A sample ballot paper for the abortion referendum, image, refcom2018.ie. This is what the ballot paper will look like. You will be voting on whether or not to approve the 36th Amendment to the Constitution Bill. That means you want to vote yes to repeal or no to keep the 8th Amendment. You vote by writing an X in the yes box or no box, depending on how you want to vote. Mark only one box, or your vote will not count. Do not mark any other part of the ballot paper, or your vote will not count. Return to the ballot box and slip your paper in. That's it, you've voted. There is no specific law against taking selfies at the polling station, but it is an offense to reveal the content of your ballot while you are in there, so it is not advisable. In general, you should not be taking photographs or filming video in the polling station. Keep your phone in your pocket. There is also no specific law against bringing pets such as dogs to polling stations, but it is best to check with your polling station before you bring them along. Canvassing, or essentially campaigning for one side or the other, is not allowed within 50 meters of a polling station. Avoid wearing repealed jumpers, love both badges, or anything like that. Try to avoid talking to other voters, especially at the voting booth, as this may be deemed as interference or canvassing. All these concerns are open to the interpretation of the presiding officer at the station, so while some may get away with one thing at another station, you might not. You can read the laws in the Irish statute book here. My question hasn't been answered. See more information at the Referendum Commission's website, at www.refcom2018.refcom.ie. You can also find more information about voting in a referendum on the government Citizens Information site.